This is how we improve our guitar skills. We have an incredible.
In Firehouse Studios, the videographer gets an espresso in an espresso cup, and the rockstar gets it in a Gibson shot glass.
Oh,
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's very apt.
Oh yeah.
I have another shot glass. I'll bring you one, man.
Thank you.
I should finish whiskey for you next time.
It's good.
I recommend everybody try espresso in a shot glass, but only if Luke Grech makes it for you. Thanks, man.
I think the bottom part doesn't get
Let's talk a little bit about improvisation, playing lead over chord progressions. There are lots of different approaches to this. They're all right. There are no wrong approaches to playing lead guitar, but I want to give you just a small insight into how I think about it. And it really comes from a choice over just playing the key over something or playing the chords. And then whether you want to focus on a particular mode or just change it up for every chord. The chord is kind of king. It's a set of rules. If you think about a chord being a bunch of notes, you've got a root, maybe a third, a fifth, a seventh. Well, if you've got that seventh, it's giving you a rule, as is the third. The third is saying this chord is major or minor. Sometimes it's fun to break that rule with a bit of lead playing and play a different kind of third. But more often than not, the rules of the chord apply and you would use an appropriate scale or mode for the chord. Let's take a look at G major. So the chord scale, just simple major minor chords in the key of A. If I write some lead and rhythm, I'm literally just coming up with this top of my head kind of vibe. So all I'm doing here is using chords from the chord scale. If I wanted to play over these chords, what would I be thinking? Well, what does it resolve to? So if I'm starting here on this 2, well, this is focused and resolving on the 2. It's of the 2 mode. The 2 mode is Dorian. Now I'll be mixing Dorian with blues because blues is such a powerful sound. So maybe over this progression, I'd start off with some Dorian. But when I get to the last chord, I'm going to remove some of these notes and make it way more pentatonic. The reason is, pentatonic is so much more of a power punch, full stop of a sound. It's so concise. It is a root. It sounds sad with a minor third. You go up, you play a fourth, you play a fifth, flat 7, done. That's it. So check this out. I'll play some lead. You'll hear the chords I'm inferring in the lead. I'll be playing over just a 2, 4, 5. So check this out. I'll start off with Dorian. I'll bring it down to pentatonic. When you remove the second and the sixth from Dorian and make it more pentatonic, it's much more of a full stop. It's a powerful statement. So it's fun to start off with lots of notes and then remove them when you want to really say something. Do you know what I mean? I use that approach a lot. I'll bring things down. Sometimes I'll take a scale. So we used a similar example. Let's go, let's do a... So now for this, it's kind of starting here. This is the 3 of A, Phrygian. I'm going from a 6 to a 5. Now I could play each individual mode. I could be going... Now I'm in Lydian. Aeolian. Mixolydian, which I love. Or I could just think, well, what's it focused on? What is the whole thing really? Is it on the 2? What do you hear predominantly throughout this? Do you just want to play blues over it? It's a process of decisions about whether you want to go chord by chord or look at the whole piece as an individual structure. It's a personal thing. Something else that I would suggest that you do for improvisation is rather than making your mind up before you go for a take if you're recording a solo, what I tend to do, take a few deep breaths, I grab an espresso and a shot glass, and I just kind of go for it. I go for it without any expectations, any pre-chosen scale shapes or arpeggio or anything, and I just kind of play, and I expect and want mistakes. Because what you'll find through just playing without thought is that you are going to come up with things that you've never done before. And when I've done that a few times over a set, you know, whatever, 8 bars or whatever it is of solo, I'll get down to an essence of something that I really like, and then I'll start to write within that structure. I don't, for example, say, okay, it's an A, it goes to here, goes to there, so I'm going to play A blues. I'll start in position 1, and then I'll go to 5, and then maybe I'll come up to 4. That's setting myself up to play the same guitar I have always played, and it would be, you know, I'd be doing myself a disservice to go in with that mindset. Instead, I just put my hand on the guitar to play, come up with something completely new, sit in a place that's wrong, bend to make it right. I'm being creative. I'm forcing myself into being creative to resolve the problem of not knowing where the hell I am. You know, it's kind of counterintuitive because I'm teaching you theory about where everything is and how it works. It's very important to know that. It's also important to know when to throw it away. It's like Frank Zappa said, learn everything there is, discard the bits you don't want afterwards. You see what I'm saying? So it's useful to approach things off the cuff, improvise, make mistakes. You'll find some incredibly cool things when you just experiment and then whittle it down until you find a place. Something else that's cool you can do with chords is you can imagine a parallel key underneath you running along. So maybe you got, you know, chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running, you know, on top, key, and then below it, imagine like a parallel universe with the same chords, but maybe it's a minor key. So maybe you're basing everything in a minor key instead. So rather than your 1 going to a minor, maybe it goes from a minor to a major. Flip things around. experiment with changing key when you're writing. It's really, really cool because you can kind of take the listener down this rabbit hole trip of imagining. Well, listeners have this sense of, I know where this music is going. I know what's going to happen because they know they're in a key. Whether they know theory or not, they feel they're in a key. And when you remove that sense of key by changing key, it feels kind of nice. So it's a cool thing to do, and we use that a lot in bands like Dorian. So there's a lot to discover and delve into with lead playing. And when it comes to improvising, I mean, whether or not true improvisation exists is an entirely other discussion. But I would suggest you put your hand on, play what feels right and sounds right, make a lot of mistakes if you're making solo takes. If you are live and you have to absolutely get it right, go with what you know. That's the best technique.